One day left. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do mean to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. Another fun fact. Come on now. You know what time it is. I'm sorry, I have no idea why I did that. But you know we got a pre-draw. It's Blue Lock, it's peak every single week, and it looks like this miniature arc is coming to an end. With only 1 day left in episode Nagi specifically ending. Like, 3 days ago? 3 days ago? Like, I know I reviewed it recently, but like, still, it didn't end that long ago, and the end of that chapter seemingly heavily, if not foreshadowing, if not flat out confirming that Nagi is actually going to join. It seems like with that ending and us only having 1 day left of the World Cup, we are leaping into the arc now. This little mini, like, presumably 11, who knows, maybe 12, depending on what happens next chapter, this mini 11 or 12 page arc definitely was interesting, I would say. And I think it does a lot for the major characters involved, I'd say. Like, it does a lot for Isagi and his understanding of the world. It introduces Luna. It gives us a whole bunch of context for Sei and his, well, not really a whole bunch of context, but it fills in some of the more vague gaps that used to exist around Sei. And on top of that, it doesn't just increase Isagi's like meta narrative value and like understanding of the soccer world, obviously, which was the whole point of his trip. But on top of that, it very specifically sets up every single character to have their own unique development, which is a really good thing. But obviously the main thing this arc was for was Nagi, right? Like this whole little spread was essentially Kaneshiro Sensei being like, yeah, I'm going to bring him back, but let me justify why I'm bringing him back, even though I literally just raced them. What? Like chapter 300 was when he was hard locked, if not chapter 299, I think. So realistically, he wasn't even gone for like a quarter of a year. But as I always say, Nagi makes a little bit too much money, both in and out of universe, to really lock him off for that long. I think ultimately even the mightiest Nagi haters out there kind of knew that. So I give Kaneshiro Sensei credit for having any patience at all when going with this plot point. But of course, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe Nagi won't come back. And, you know, maybe I'll spontaneously turn to a Kryptonian. Let's not waste more time. Let's hop right into chapter 311, side B. 1 day until the U20 World Cup. Alright, interesting squad we got here. We got Raichi, Nanase, and Yuki Maya. Very interesting. And you know what? Extra interesting, I guess because there's only 1 day left. He really wants to get, like, on the field experience with them. But Ego's really close. Like when you think about it, I don't think we ever, outside of the U20 match, obviously, I don't think we ever really saw Ego on the sidelines of any of the practice matches or any of the, whoa, what is up with my beard there? But I don't think we've seen Ego on the sideline of any of the practice matches or any of the matches in Blue Lock. He's typically always watching from his control center, but this time he's like actually on the side of the pitch, like a coach. I know that sounds absolutely crazy to say, but legitimately, it's actually kind of crazy to see him there because it's so weird. But what I do like is something that I mentioned earlier. Just as I appreciate that we're getting more Ego as a centralized character, and I think Ego's a really interesting character, so I'm happy to see more of him. I like that the barrier that once existed between Ego and the Blue Lockers is slowly shattering, if not entirely erasing. Obviously, the biggest blow to that was all the way back in the U20 game when he was like, hey, make us win right now or I will rip those glasses off your face and break them over my knee. But with him being on the side of the pitch here and him directly, like, really actively coaching and guiding them all the way up to the final day before the U20 World Cup, that's actually really, really interesting. I'm very interested to see Ego's role, right? Because obviously he's the coach, so he's never going to be on the pitch. But very specifically, since he's fully admitted that, hey, I know I'm using you for my dream, you can use me for your dream, I'm very interested to see what more active role he'll play. While in the U20 match, he was kind of just like, we ball. I highly doubt he's going to take that same approach to the U20 World Cup, so I'm very interested to see a much more active Ego coaching, considering it's something we haven't really seen before. Let's take a look. Hibachi Ego, Blue Lock General Director. Okay, Hiyori with the pass of Doom. So, okay, so Hiyori and Raichi are on the same team, and not saying Yuki Maya. I think already this is a better deal just because they don't have to deal with I'm kidding. Let's see. Cinema? Isagi Yoichi with the instantaneous goal. Okay. I see you, Mr. Yoichi-san. Darn. Okay, though. That does make me want... I've been going back and forth, and I love how he's number one. That tickles my toes. But with it being the case, I've been debating back and forth on when Ishagi? Who's Ishagi, bro? I've been debating... You know what? Funnily enough, I know I say his name wrong. It's Isagi. At least I'm pretty sure. That's how the English dub pronounces it. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced like that in the Japanese dub. But despite knowing it's Isagi, I just don't like it. Just like I don't think his name isn't Isagi Yoichi. It's Isagi Yoichi. Like, I think that's like how you properly pronounce it. I just hate that though. I hate that. And like, if it ever comes to a point where I look through the comments and you're like, okay, Pencil Man, we let it slide for like 100 chapters now, but if you don't start saying this man's names correctly, we're gonna have to make sure you can't pre-draw ever again. I'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. All right, fine, I'll start saying it properly. But I don't know, Isagi just sounds so much better than Isagi. At least to me. But then again, there have been times where I've like said a name wrong for a real long time and then been like, oops. Bada bing, bada boom, my fault, OG, and then fixed it. Like, the main other example that comes to mind is Heisuke from Sakamoto days. I used to say Heisuke. I just read it as it was, when realistically it's Heisuke, like Sasuke. And that's why I assume Isagi is something like, oh no, I'm going to be flipping back and forth between pronunciations now that I pointed it out. But essentially, a thing I've been going back and forth on is, when do I want Isagi to get a buff? And you would be like, Pencil Man, you did read the entire Neo Egoist League, right? That was like Isagi buffs the arc, and you're correct, but I mean a physical stat buff. Notably, I, unlike many others, do think Isagi doesn't need it. I definitely think he can become the #1 striker through sheer, like, evolution of his basically godlike foresight. If he can keep pushing that to higher and higher and higher levels, to the point where he's literally like ripping the field apart through sheer mental calculation and logic, and even transcendental understanding of other people's logics and emotions and protagonism, like, if he can just keep growing that'd be perfectly fine for me. But I, like many others, do think it's very clearly set up he's going to get some sort of stat buff, especially with the chapter, not last chapter, and I don't even think the chapter before, but I think it was like chapter 308, which made a point of being like, Bachiro going out of his way to say, hey, Isagi, did you grow taller? And obviously Isagi's only 17. There's definitely a chance that he's going to get a growth spurt, and he's going to get just better physical stats. And don't get me wrong, Isagi has definitely been increasing his stats somewhat. I specifically remember in the early Ubers game, they noted he was much, much faster than he was before. And obviously things like his pacing and ball control and shot diversity, like, it's all gotten better. But even I agree that in order to be outboxed and really be able to directly box with characters like Kaiser, characters like Baro, characters like Shido, characters like Kurigami especially, he's going to need to get his beefy gains up. So I'm very interested to see what he ends up doing with that. But poor Nico, man. It is this man's destiny to get clipped on, bro. And it's always by, yo, I'm telling you, there's going to be a moment in the Neo Egoist League where Nico's going to get clipped on by Isagi, even though they're on the same team. Something's going to happen in the World Cup where Nico, like, fumbles the bag a little bit, and Isagi's going to pick up the bag and immediately clip Nico again. Because it's always Nico, dog. It's always Nico. But Isagi with the goal goes crazy. Boom. Oh, and you know what? I like that. I wonder if this was another one of their reflex goals. But, I mean, it doesn't have the same hype. We're very early on in the chapter. But once you look at that, it's Hiyori and Isagi teaming up for this perfect shot. And once again, one thing I am very interested in seeing is Hiyori stick to his word, essentially. Honestly, as much as I do like the Isagi-Hiyori duo, now, especially with a character like Sei being introduced in the elimination stage, I know we're not going to see him for, like, now that I think about it, depending on how long the games are, we may not see Sei for, like, 100 chapters, now that I think about it. It really depends on how long each game goes. If we really go with the idea that they're going to beat Nigeria, they're going to get raffle stomped by France, and then they're going to beat England by the skin of their teeth, it could easily be a smooth 100 chapters before we actually get to the elimination stage. Which actually would still be a pretty massive lock-off for a character like Sei, I actually would have to say. Because that means we wouldn't see him till like the 400s. Meaning the last time we actually saw him active on the pitch would be the U20 match, which was like genuine years ago at this point. And that's actually crazy to think about. But with a character like Sei being on the field, and we know Sei being a person who also wants to prioritize Isagi and the other strikers, I hope Hiyori goes into that mindset where he's like, hey, Isagi, my brother, I know we see the field the same way, but I have a vision. A vision you simply can't complete or compete with. And he gives it to Shido, or he gives it to Rin, or he gives it to Baro. The ultimate issue with Hiyori being locked to BM was that, like, who's he going to give it to? Kaiser? And obviously, with the structure of the Neo Egoist League, he could never give it to Kaiser because there was narratives that had to be fulfilled there. But with the unlimited goal structure and full 90-minute matches of the U20 World Cup, I feel like we could actually see Hiyori get some very shot selection or very pass selection for people to have different shot selections, and really playing to the idea that he's this wild card that as long as the ball is at his feet, you now need to gamble on who he's going to go for. But let's see. Nice clean goal by Isagi. Alright, nice shot, Isagi. No, you were a beat too slow, Hiyori. Okay, so yeah, that wasn't a so, but you know what? That's even more impressive, considering they are playing against. I mean, obviously he was being guarded by Nico, so like he might as well not have been guarded at all. But with it being the case, I do like that Isagi is still even a slight level ahead, where he's like, I know ball now. I saw and experienced the world. I know that I know that level. It's something. There was something slightly off about that, but at the same time, I like that Hiyori is still strong enough that he was just a beat too slow. And like for any of my non-musicians out there, a beat is a quarter note. At least that's how I always thought about it. Like there are definitely 8 notes, 16th notes, 30-second notes. I like 30 as a person who used to play the piano. 30-second notes were always insane to me. I was like, how am I supposed to hit it that fast and then move on to something else? The level of music when you're at 30-second notes is extremely absurd. And it's even worse if you're trying to sing it. But with it being the case, Hiyori is only a beat behind. He was off by a quarter note. And now, obviously, let me guess what he's like. Yeah. If we can't make that cross with quicker timing, it'll just be blocked by the world's top player. Yeah, so that's the main thing where he's like, we need to be on our A game or they will spread our cheeks open. But it's very impressive for Hiyori, someone who didn't experience the world, presumably, someone who was training back in video games, to be able to only be a beat behind. To only be like 1 degree lower than, say, who has literally experienced the world, right? And of course, this still does raise the conflict of once Say becomes relevant, right? Once we get to the elimination stage, because you know we're going to get to the elimination stage. Once Say becomes relevant, what is Hiyori's purpose? Like, can we, I mean, we can have both. But and honestly, I'm excited to see both. But just with how, like, there's so many characters now, so many relevant characters that need some. I need a little bit of something. That's not to talk about Nagi comeback, which is basically Digidestined. That's not to talk of Raymond. Like, there's so many different characters who already need a lick of that spotlight. I'm genuinely intrigued to see how kind of Show is going to balance it all. Whew, it's going to be interesting. Especially considering, once again, the games are just unlimited. They're full-scale matches. But it's like, okay. I get what you're saying, but I can't pull it off right away. Okay, let me stop. I'm not going to give you a southern accent. Okay. I get what you're saying, but I can't pull it off right away. I'm not a robot, and I don't want to get worn out before the game. You know, that is, I mean, and that is always the hard thing. I remember, at least back when I did track and field, my coach was always like, run as if it's real. Because if you never run like it's real, you'll never be ready to run like it's real. And that's why after every single practice, we would essentially collapse. Like, practice always ended with 2 things. It was the post-workout collapse and then stretching to make sure we didn't actually burn ourselves or wear ourselves out. But it's because it's true. If you never let your body go all out, spontaneously telling it to go all out is hard. It's difficult. If you don't know what your limits are, trying to push your limits is basically impossible. So we would always have to do it. And the thing is, since we would show it at the meets, especially like the early meets on in the season, coach would always be able to figure out, okay, that's your limit, that's your limit, that's your limit. And he would be able to tell if we were not going all out. Especially the guys who were faster and were like comfortably faster, they would hold back a little bit, and coach would be like, all right, now you gotta run laps. If he could tell you weren't going out, and it was sometimes bad, because sometimes he couldn't tell. Sometimes you were just tired that day or something was off, and you couldn't actually hit your regular 100%, and you'd have to run laps anyway. But every single time, if he thought you were not going all out, you were running laps. And that was a little bit, like, I'd run laps multiple times. Multiple. Especially whenever we were practicing 400, since I sucked at 400s, my stamina was just bad. So my coach would see, like, you're holding back. I'm like, coach, I swear I'm not holding back. This is just the 5th 400 you made me run in 30 minutes. I can't do this. But let's see. But all that to say, I do understand what Hiyori means, but at the same time, you kind of got to ball out. Even with it being on the line, you just got to hope you rest well enough that night and you lock in. Let's see. Yeah, Isagi, you're asking too much. Huh? What kind of tepid nonsense is that? We're trying to win, right? What's wrong with comparing us to that ideal? I mean, like, there generally is nothing wrong with that. And honestly, I as much as I do not like running laps, it is a philosophy I do kind of fundamentally agree with. If you don't ball out, even in practice, not that you will never be able to ball out. I know there are some people who, like, never, ever really had to train or try at anything. Not even just, like, physical stuff, like, just general. But 9 out of 10 times, especially for a talented learner like Hiyori, right? Or at least He has genius aspects. He has. I feel like I'm saying that with almost every single character I mention. Yeah, they're a talented learner or they're a genius, but they have the other aspects as well. But with it being the case for Hiyori, he does sort of need to input his data at max, right? Because ultimately, if him and every other talented learner, such as Karasu, such as Isagi, such as Nico, such as Aiku, such as Reo, if they don't have the full data of what they can work with, then it'll be hard to go beyond that data in certain ways that they can, right? So I don't blame Isagi for being like, hey, gang, put it all on the line so we can all develop a better understanding of each other. Obviously, the geniuses can kind of... Oh, I like how Baro's hair still dyed. I really wish we could see a bit of their trading, though. I would have loved to see Baro get tackled. But with it being the case, I do get Isagi's whole idea of, like, hey... Especially for the talented learners. Maybe for the geniuses, it's a bit more wild because, like, they can kind of just do whatever, whenever. But for the talented learners, without fully updated, appropriate data, especially from your own team, when you're going to be getting new spontaneous data against the other team, when your brain's already going to be running at 120%, going and dealing with the other team and their formations and their information and their statistics, not knowing what your team can do can definitely, it can cost you something like that. Like, you don't know if, okay, Hiyori, are you holding back? Or can you just not hit that? And now I need to change the entire attack structure because that one wouldn't work because I know you're going to be a beat slower. It is little stuff like that which would compile over and over and over again and lead to possibly a loss. Let's see. Well, I can't argue with that. Oh, see, even Hiyori's like, wait, actually, Loki, he kind of knows ball right now. I was like, I bet you could find a better way to say it. I mean, yeah, technically, but I mean, this is Blue Lock, y'all. Y'all do need to be balling a little bit. Like y'all need a little bit of that mania, man. Like, not saying that you shouldn't be like cordial and polite to your teammates, but he was relatively well. I mean, that's a little sassy mouth. But outside of that, like, I don't know, he's just being real. And notably, at least I think at any time I was ever on a team, or even some of the teams I'm on now, I'm always the kind of guy who's like, be real with me. Be honest. Don't sugarcoat. Even if you get a bit mean, because honestly, the meanness will stick better. I've noticed, at least for me, I'm not sure if this is like this for anyone else, and for any of my other people who work in teams, especially if you were ever an athlete or realistically just in general, what kind of reinforcement or criticism works for you? Don't get me wrong, I definitely just take regular constructive criticism where it's like laid out and like, hey, here's this, and that. Here's, you can do this, and that better. It helps. But the main kind of critiques that have ever stuck with me and like have been like, okay, I need to fix this. I'm going to fix this no matter what. It's been when someone's gotten mean and nasty with me. Been like, hey, Pencil, you suck at this. You better fix it or else I'm going to boom you. I'd be like, that's kind of crazy. But I still remember the specific threat that they gave me. I'll never forget, bro, saying literally, dude, if you don't get that handoff down, I'm gonna rip you out a new one. And I didn't even know what a new one was at that point. I don't know what he was gonna rip out of me, but I still remember that same statement verbatim all these years later because it was some real negative reinforcement said as cruelly as possible. So ultimately, I think he's knows ball, especially in like a case like Blue Lock. Ultimately, soft words and kind phrasing, like that's not really the Blue Lock way. But that, of course, you know, that was Ego's whole point like 2 chapters ago. The Blue Lock way kind of doesn't matter, but it's still like, I think the mentality and how you communicate does definitely affect a lot of things, including how you would react in certain scenarios. So I don't blame Isagi for being harsh with it. I wasn't trying to be harsh. I'm just stating my opinion. Then don't say stuff like tepid. It ain't like Hiyori's slacking off, you idiot. Oh, well, yeah. But, I mean, like, tepid, I think, maybe if he said, don't say stuff like tepid booty meat. Like if he said the full phrase. Notably, technically it is a little bit tepid, right? Holding back in practice, it's a little bit lukewarm, if you will. And though Karasu is right, Hiyori's not slacking off. It's just that he's essentially properly managing his body, and that is the ever eternal debate, right? But ultimately, I think there's a reason Ego is having them play a practice game before the first game of the U20 World Cup, right? Like, he's doing this in order to make sure that he has their most updated data, knows how to build the most proper team and all that. He wants to see everyone's full potential. So ultimately, he probably understands that with the right amount of rest and eating and all that stuff, they'll still be in good enough shape for an actual match. Their first match against Nigeria. So, like, I don't know. I'm leaning more towards Isagi here. What? Now, no need to fight. You're both saying things to help us win. Ugh. I don't mind, though. He already being like, you know, I'm actually low-key kind of into that. I love when Isagi trash talks me. Like, it is, and you know, it is funny. I specifically remember back in the earliest days of, like, the current friend group, I had known some people in it before, and notably, the more comfortable I get, the more I'm willing to, like, trash talk or throw a couple insults around, because I feel like the relationship's stable enough that we can do that. But sometimes it would be heard by people who didn't know me as well, and they're like, whoa, Pencil, that's kind of mean. And be like, no, wait, there's context. And the other person would, I still remember two friends would always be like, no. He's spitting right now. He's cooking, don't worry about it. And I know now, like, almost everyone in the friend group knows, if I'm ever insulting you, that's free reign for you to insult me back. Like I'm always a person who's ready to get full counter, dog. Like if I ever lob an insult, it's because I'm almost expecting you to grab it, spit it in the air, and lob it right back at me. Because I got a bunch of flaws. Have you seen my hairline? Like genuinely, it is so easy to roast me, and I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the creativity. And it truly is a case, the better you get to know someone, the better you can insult them. Because you know them better. I was like, let's keep our feelings hot and our communication cool, right? Okay, Haiku. Acting as a facilitator, that's nice. And you know what? I actually like that Karasu, Hiyori, and Isagi are all on the same team with Haiku. This really is, and I look at it. Is this a team of talented learners versus geniuses? Is Raichi a talented learner, though? I feel like Raichi's kind of a genius. So it's not fully. And obviously Nico's on the other team, so that's different. But I like how this, like, Metavision quad is here and going crazy. I do like that. I like that. And honestly, I'm very interested to see more dynamics like this. Just these interactions between these 23 characters. Considering, like, you asked me 100 chapters ago, hey, did I think this was going to be a 4-man that was actually going to have, like, an interaction? No. But I'm happy to have it. I was like, oh, sure. Sorry about that. Ugh, same here. My bad. but you know what? I like that. I like that tensions are rising, right? Like, even if they're all trying to be focused and legit and locked in, the idea that they're really about to get thrown to the wolves, right? Like, they're going on the world stage and they have no choice in the matter. They have to lock in or they're cooked. Especially in this first group stage, they have to get through. I like that. I like that the animosity's running higher. That's some good character conflict born organically. You're cooking. I was like, Isagi. You must think you've become the nucleus of this team. That everything will go your way now. Go your way now. Save it for after you've totally beaten me. You wanna be demon. See, here's the thing, right? Rin. You do technically have a point. Because you were the number one who stayed at number one and it's got the same value even though that you did lose. But you cannot tell the man to know his place while at the same time you call him the Demon King. Slapping wannabe on a name like Demon King doesn't change anything when you gave him the name. The amount of titles that have now included Demonic Hero King is all your fault, right? I'm not even just talking about my, like, I've now seen Isagi described as the Demon King in so many different titles, in so many different ways, in so many different thumbnails, and it's all your fault, Rin. You glazed him. You glazed him. No one was calling him that. He was always Blue Lock's hero, but now he's the heroic Demon King, all because of your own glaze. Rin, I'm sorry. This is a binding vow, dog. You laid on the glaze, and now we must deal with it. I was like, but you know what? If there's one thing I'm trying to appreciate more, it is this rivalry and the fact that it is just permanent, like it is the main rivalry of the series at this point. Poor Bachiro, man. But with it being the case, I like that neither have truly given up on it. And they're still somewhat fighting for it. Obviously, Rin doesn't necessarily care too much about being the nucleus, but he cares about who is attempting to be. And in this case, since it's Isagi, the other main rival he has, he's the one who's like, hey, cool your jets, bro. Cool your jets. Just because you're the main PR guy. Just because you're built like that, just because you beat me in a way, doesn't mean you're better. Sit down, bro. And that's a good rivalry. I don't know. I like it. I will admit, it's growing on me. And it is truly a case of time passing, my thoughts changing, and just generally appreciating stuff I've already read. Because I still haven't reread PXG just yet. I don't know. I'm waiting for the actual Nigeria match to start before I actually bother to go reread PXG, so we can have the full context of the after PhD versus BM stuff too. Essentially, this little mini arc in between. Let's see. I give him the Taurus voice, right? I give him the Taurus voice. I give him the Taurus voice. I was about to say, what voice did I give Boruto? Let's see. But interesting that he's here. Huh. All right, let's see. Hirotoshi Burutsuta. Hey, hey, guess who's here? Huh? I love how Nico, but very specifically, Aryu is like, this guy, he is so not still. Let's see. Looks like you're working hard, my money-grubbing blue boy. I mean, my lumps of talent. But you can be honest with them, dog. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Ultimately, going back to what I mentioned about Nagi's whole dream and his determination, what makes him fired up, and how Ego would have taken the deal that Boruto offered him, they're all kind of here because of Boruto. As much as I don't like the guy, and they may not like the guy, they can't really knock his hustle. They are here. The reason they have this platform, the reason they develop so much, is unironically because of him. If he did not approve the Blue Lock program, if he didn't work with Henri and Ego, none of this would have happened. Like technically, he is kind of their grandpappy in a way, in a weird way. Let's see, Boruto, Chairman Money Grubber. Oh, I like that Chigiri and Bachiro are on the same team as Izagi. He can hear you, you idiot. But like, what is he gonna do? Like, obviously, maybe he get mad, but like, I think he knows. Notably, Boruto, if I have to give him one thing, he's very confident in what he is. Like he doesn't seem to really care. He doesn't care about his appearance. He doesn't care about anything. He cares about the bag. And these guys are helping him get the bag. So it's highly likely that he's not. He doesn't really care. Call him whatever you want. He's still got more racks than you. He can still smack more stacks on the table than you may ever touch. Like who gonna knock him? Who gonna knock? I can't knock him. Let's see. My son, my baby. Why are you covering your own mouth? Hey. You leave Zontet stupid alone. Let's see. What's the meaning of this? I thought I asked you not to come. You asked, but you didn't order. Once again, going back to that whole argument they had many chapters ago, which I still think is retroactively very weird with the whole Boruto 3. But then again, you know what? I will give someone credit. Someone explain why Boruto may have had that argument with Ego anyway. But then again, it's weird, because if Ego had accepted Nagi back, it would have become the Boruto 2, right? But someone had explained to me, maybe the main reason Ego wanted, or Boruto wanted Nagi to be brought back through Ego's own choice, rather than using the Boruto 3, is the idea that he wanted to save another extra slot for him, right? Because obviously Nagi would be a guaranteed slot alongside Sei, leaving essentially Boruto one free player to choose from. But if Nagi was taken back into the original top 23, maybe kicking out Nanase or something, then bada bing, bada boom, that would give Boruto Nagi, a big moneymaker, Sei, another big moneymaker, and then 2 free slots. So maybe that's it. I could lean with that. I could rock with that. Even if I think that would require Boruto wanting Ego to kick out one of the top 23, which I don't think is the case. Just the way that chapter was phrased, it seemed like Boruto just wanted Nagi to be in, but obviously there are only 26 players capable of being registered. No, let's see. Oh, and all that goes back to the idea that as much as Ego talked himself up as the deity, he truly is like, this gonna sound weird. If we're looking at the hierarchy of power within the Blue Lock system, I'd say Boruto is at the top. Well, obviously, the PIFA president is at the top, and then it's Boruto. But then it's Boruto, then Ego ripping out beneath them, with Henri as a subsect of Ego, and then the Blue Lockers. Because ultimately, it is Boruto who breathes life into the program through the marketing and monopolization and the money and all the dealings behind that. Because we know Ego doesn't care about that stuff. But ultimately, without that stuff, it wouldn't be able to exist. Ego is the one who facilitates all the Blue Lockers, and the Blue Lockers are obviously the products, right? So it's kind of like Boruto is the deity. I feel like it's weird calling Ego a priest, but like what would you call that? Like a guy? Like, I don't know. I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is there. But essentially, I'm trying to relate back to specifically Greek mythology. Well, essentially, I'd say almost in a weird way, if you were to put it in a hierarchy equivalency, it'd be like Ego is the oracle to Boruto's Apollo, right? So it goes down Boruto, the deity, Apollo, then Ego, and on. Well, I guess you could say in that case, Ego, the oracle, Henri, one of the muses, Burutsuta Apollo, and then the Blue Lockers are the followers of the Oracle, or really the heroes who go to the Oracle for their journey. And you know, actually, I think that works. I think that works the best, because with Burutsuta as the deity, Ego as the Oracle, Henri's one of the muses, and the Blue Lockers as the heroes of the story, in a way, they have to go to Ego, who has to go to Apollo for the power to create the story, for the power to dole out prophecy in the first place. So, hold on, I may be cooking. Hold on, let me give myself a rare pat on the back. I may be cook with that. Before y'all drop in the comments are like, Pencil, if you think that's cooking, I fear what your kitchen looks like. But oh, I'm not here to lecture you on soccer. I'm just here for a greeting. Da-da-da! Hello, Blue Lock. I thought it would be best to tell them about our promise, Ego-kun. They'll be more motivated if they know, right? I know this isn't the Taurus voice, but I don't want to just give them an exact copy of the Taurus voice, so I'm going with this more like gravelly rendition. I know a lot of y'all gotta be like, Pencil, if you don't go watch the anime and get that voice instead, I'm sorry. I don't want it. Let's say, huh? The number of U20 representative slots isn't 23, it's 26. Oh, so he is just straight up telling them. I mean, I guess it doesn't, that's the thing. And it goes back to what I was mentioning last chapter, chapter 310. Ultimately, the last 3 slots doesn't matter to the top 23. They don't care. Like, I mean, obviously they'd like it if it was Nagi, right? Like, they would like it if it was Nagi. Or at least some of them would. I mean, one of them blocked them already. But would that be the case? They'd probably like it if it was Nagi. But outside of that, there's a high possibility that it's completely irrelevant. If the only person I could see Ego of who's likely to be the Burutsuta 3, like, it's probably going to be, say, Nagi. I don't want it to be Kira, but like, who else? Like, I'm not sure who, if we're going back to like the limited. I know there's like that kid who was like supposedly like the Messi of Amori or something like that, like maybe him. Ultimately, the third person is gonna be a random. It's the reason the Burutsuta 3 exists is for Sei and Nagi, right? But with it being the case, Sei is the only person I could hard guarantee someone like Ego playing, where he's like, hey, I got like, that would be a case of Ego's own stubbornness getting in the way of victory, and I think Ego's not prideful enough to do that. As we mentioned, he's logical enough to know you gotta know when to hold him and know when to fold him. And a new Gen 111 member born in Japan actually being willing to work with the Blue Lock 11 or the Blue Lock 23, it's almost necessary. So once they get to the elimination stage, you know Sei is getting on that pitch. Once again, it's why I'm worried for Hiyori's future, but we could just have both of them on the pitch at the same time. But for a character like Nagi and whoever the third character is, they may just never get playtime. If Ego doesn't want them, he probably just wouldn't use them. The number of U20 representatives slots isn't 23, it's 26, and I get to fill those last 3 slots. Huh? And of one of those 3 is Hitoshi Sei. I don't know why I always say his last name first. Even whenever I see it written out to say Hitoshi, I always say Hitoshi Sei. And once again, how? When I tell you, Nomura Sensei could draw a goldfish and give it more aura than I've ever had in my entire life. Why does Burutsuta have so much aura? Why is he drawn so, like, for such a character design that in most cases would scream, ugly? Nomura Sensei is just so fantastic at making him so auraful. Or, like, not, once again, he's not really aesthetically pleasing, but he just looks mad cool, and I gotta respect that. And I'm so glad. One of y'all in the comments who is an actual manga artist, shout outs to you, I could never do it, but one of you in the comment section was like, oh no, Pencil, you're not crazy, Nomura is just goated. Because the one thing I always wonder, just whenever I glaze art, because I'm not professionally trained, I don't have a degree in art, and I've been drawing for fun all these years, right? I've just been clipping myself, essentially. I don't know ball, long story short. I've always kind of looked to other artists to see if any of my artistic takes are valid, and hearing an actual manga artist be like, Pencil, you're not insane, Nomura just may actually be a little bit cracked. Thank you, I appreciate that. Let's see. Sei Hitoshi. Huh? Wait, what? I love how Fukaku of all people has to comment on that, because he's like, wait, like that's Hitoshi? The guy was kind of bullying us? Let's see. Info overload! So that means... Is that really that complicated, though? I mean, like, I guess those last 3... And one of them, one of them being Sei is pretty complicated. Especially considering Sei was, like, a major antagonist for all the Blue Lockers. He was even low-key an antagonist for Fukaku before he became Blue Locker. Let's see. Sei will be on our U20 team? Well, Seikun decided he won't join the team until the finals, but I've decided on how to choose the other two players. All of you will fight. Oh, okay, never mind. I was about to say, what? All of you will fight in the U20 World Cup Group League, and meanwhile I'll be holding Blue Locks, Japan's last two survival selection. Ta-da! AKA Side B. That's the title of the chapter. Yeah, I see. I know what you are. I know what you are. Kind of sure what I'm saying. Interesting. So he's like, so yeah, it makes sense. He mentioned his own selection, so he's essentially just ripping off Blue Lock for the last two spots. Oh wow, 300 though. That's a pretty big number. Where do you get 300 people though? Let's see. For Side B, I gathered about 300 talented youngsters, and for an additional fee, BLTV subscribers can view this heated battle and boost Japanese soccer even higher. For an additional fee. That's interesting. But I guess the main reason it's an additional fee is I'm assuming the U20 is going to be aired on BLTV, right? Like, I'm assuming that's part of the contract deal. So, with that being the case, I'm betting the main reason it's an additional fee is because you'd essentially be paying for bonus content. And we'll get to it. Okay, let's see. Oh, so it's a ripoff. Hey, so you ripped off Ego's idea. That's our money-grubbing Tanuki. I said he can hear you. Look, Zantetsu, how can we hear you? You're covering your mouth. Let's see. And once again, stop saying that. Furthermore, Murasute, hearing these insults, hearing these claims of ripoff, he's like, I don't care. Like, he knows he is still so far above them in a way, despite obviously needing them to do what he needs to do. And he doesn't care. Whatever they call him, sure. Have your opinions. Where your money at? Where your money at? Where your money at? Huh? Oh, it's not there? That's right, because y'all bro. Let's see. And the players that are expected to participate so far are these guys. Not relevant, 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 not relevant. This has to be an insult, right? Like Nomura. What is this? Kira. You know what? Funny thing is, I don't even have like strong opinions towards Kira as a character. I'll be completely real, I never did. But somehow my feelings went almost in the opposite direction of Ikaguri, where Ikaguri, through further exposure and just like actual good quality writing by kind of show sensei, made me actually appreciate the character a whole lot more than I ever did before. Somehow less exposure to Kira and so many Kira copers existing and glazing Kira to the moon and back when he had like 5 seconds of screen time has made me actively dislike the character and not want him to come back. Not at all. And considering he's the only character with like an actual half decent character design, except for like maybe this guy. This guy's like a stark reference from Freerin, except with like less spiky hair. But like I don't know who else would be like the third person. That's the main thing I was wondering about. Like, who of the people who are eliminated in Blue Lock outside of Nagi would be like a relevant return? So I guess it does make sense that it is Kira, but like he should be so heavily cliffed. That's my one concern for him in particular. Obviously, Nagi shouldn't be too heavily cliffed, especially if he has his motivation back. But for someone like Kira, like, man, what has he been doing? Like, everyone else, like, he may, like, unironically, Kira may be genuinely diffed in a 1v1 by Nanase. You know, like, he's diffed by Fukaku, man. Like, genuinely, I'm not sure if Kira has the sauce. Let's see. Huh? He was in our first game of tag. That's Kira-kun. Yep, indeed. I'm shocked they can read that screen, though. That's pretty tiny. Let's see. Well, I plan on timing it so that Side B's winners will be determined at the same time as the finals. That means we'll have some big news for the world to coincide with Sei Toshi joining the team. $. You cannot say that man isn't focused. You cannot say that man doesn't know what he wants. He knows he's about that bag. Let's see. So make it to the finals, even if it kills you, Blue Lock. Obviously, they're gonna make it. Like, notably, I do. Though I will admit, I've been changed. I've been informed. Apparently, Nigeria actually is kind of cracked. They just don't win. Kind of in the same way that England is apparently kind of cracked. They just don't win. So Nigeria actually shouldn't be a stomp. I like many others kind of assume Nigeria was kind of be like a show off game for Blue Lock, but it may be them just finding their footing. It may turn into something where they like definitively win. Maybe it'll be like a 6-4 goals thing. Where, like, it's really even at first, but Blue Lock gets the rhythm up and they figure out everything, and Nigeria just isn't able to compete, and then boom, Blue Lock wins definitively, and then PXG or France in general. I've seen, just as I've seen people say the difficulty for Nigeria may be higher for Blue Lock, the stomping of Blue Lock may be softer by France, but still, it seems like the common consensus is France is going to beat Blue Lock. The only question is, how effective will they be at beating Blue Lock, and how much of a stomp will it be? Because I, like many others, kind of assumed it may be a really high-scoring game, but it'd be high-scoring on both ends, meaning France gets a whole bunch of goals, aka Charles and Loki finally properly linking up, and bada bing, bada boom, Loki gets like 2 hat tricks. And then Japan gets like 5 goals from all 5 different strikers. So like Loki's the main issue, and they have to spend the rest of the tournament training to figure out how to stop Loki, or prepping someone like a Kunigami or Chigiri or Zantetsu or Yukimaya to somehow lock down Loki so they can actually beat him the next time. So there's that, and then obviously I think England is the only match that I've seen no one really change on. Everyone just assumed it's going to be Extreme Div. Notably, I have more context for why it should be Extreme Div, as apparently England is actually very, very stacked in real life, and presumably stacked in the Blue Lock universe. But at the same time, that one is, like, its perception hasn't changed. We've all assumed that'd be like maybe like a 3-2 match, or anything, no matter what, it's going to be like down to the wire, possibly penalty kicks type stuff. Let's see. Nanase, Corona, and Chigiri all a little bit worried. I mean, like, y'all kind of knew it was like this. Are y'all really surprised? Let's see. Okay, Blue Boys, good luck. Make big money. I wish I could just like Borusuta as a lot of other people do, but I think I too fully align with him. Like, I don't know, not like fully. Obviously, I have morals and stuff like that, but man, a bag is a bag, dog. And like, literally until I'm gone, I don't think I'm ever gonna stop. Well, no. There's if I ever build up enough of a bag, or I get lucky enough to stumble into a bag, then you'll probably see me mellow out a whole lot, because ultimately a bag is the main reason why I wake up super duper early to go to work every single day. So maybe if I was ever free of that, then yeah, I'm gonna not care so much because I'll be free. But man, chasing a bag is sometimes all you can do. It's what you kind of have to do to survive in the modern day, unless you like go off the grid and live in the woods, which is perfectly fine, by the way. I'm not knocking it. I give credit to people who can do that. You boy? I couldn't. Let's see. But you know what? I love how Ego kind of kowtows, right? Like, he doesn't deny anything that Borusuta is saying. He doesn't even really speak back to him. He lets him get this whole thing off and explain everything, and then Borusuta just leaves. So, once again, going with the earlier analogy, it truly is Apollo spitting out the prophecy through the Oracle, and the Oracle not really being able to do anything but sit there and watch. Sit there and take it. Or at least that's how it's characterized in the Percy Jackson series. I'm not actually sure how it is done in, like, traditional Greek mythology. Is it like a whole possession thing? Like the spirit of Delphi? I have no idea. Let's see. Ego-san, what's the meaning behind this? What'll happen to Blue Lock? Nothing. Like it's 3 people. One of them being Sei, but like, okay, and it's 3 people. Let's see. They're just options. Don't worry. The chairman is only thinking of... Wait. Hold on a second. Let me take a slight sip. Hold on. Sorry, I had to moisten up a little bit. Because I had to hit the Ego voice. They're just options. Don't worry. The chairman is only thinking of profits. I'll exploit that to make all of you stronger. But I do like that. I like that. Ultimately, Ego... It's funny. In the almost inverse way of what Borusuta wants, Ego's going to use the fact that any of them could be swapped out for one of those 3. And I bet very specifically Sei, and probably Nagi, that he's going to use that as a sick and twisted motivation to have them tweak out more, to have them develop further, stronger, and faster at the fear of being swapped out for one of the bums. Let's see. Anyone who loses in Blue Lock can never play for the Japanese national team. What about that rule? If Kira-kun comes back, I won't use him. So is that Nagi's death net? I mean, that's the one issue with Nagi coming back to Blue Lock. There's a high chance that Ego just won't use him. But I think the way that that'll be circumvented is either a force scenario where Nagi kind of has to be used, aka certain players get injured and none of the backup roster can actually fill the spot that Nagi would perfectly fill in, and or in between the matches, Nagi proves useful. There's going to be some use for him. He's going to have to get on the pitch eventually. But I'm very interested to see, because obviously this rule doesn't just apply to Kira. It will apply to Nagi if he comes back through this. if Ego just decides not to use Nagi and benches him the entire time, he may genuinely still be cooked. Especially considering Ego's last interaction with Nagi was a tweak out. To the point where when Nagi was camping outside of Blue Lock, Ego didn't even give him the time of day and had Henri tell him, hey, yo, gang, get out of here before we call the police. So I don't know. Interesting. But then again, I do wonder how he plans to exploit that to make all of him stronger. If he won't, well, it'll have to just be Sei then. It'll have to be Sei, because Sei is void from that rule, because obviously he never lost in Blue Lock. Well, he lost to Blue Lock, he never lost in Blue Lock. So Sei may be the big threat of like, hey, you fumble, and I will put the talented learner genius out there. I will do it. Let's see. Setting aside Sei Toshi, nobody who Burutsuta drags here will be a match for you guys. That's the big thing, right? Like how are, specifically Kira. Nagi, like I said, I don't think he'll be too power crept. If he's being introduced this early, I don't think he'll be too power crept. But, especially considering, like, think of the lower tiers of the top 23. Like, Nagi's going to be better than Kira. Nagi's going to be better than Nanase. Nagi's going to be better than, like, a couple of the bottom tiers. But, very specifically, Shido and Kunigami on the same team with Sendo. They're actually an interesting comp. But, with it being the case, that is one of the things I'm very interested to see. With a hypothetical Kira return, how is he at all going to be comp, bro? Like he is so heavily crapped. I have no idea. But then again, that'd be so funny. It'd actually be very interesting if Kira was a fake out. Honestly, I'd leave with that and rock with that way more. Especially if we're already bringing back Nagi. If we weren't really fakes out, it'd be cool if there was like a Broly type character. You may be like, Pencil, what are you talking about? Very specifically, Dragon Ball Super Broly, where there's just this guy out there in the Japanese soccer world who no one really knew anything about, no one really expected, he wasn't on anybody's radar, but, you know, Burutsuta finds him somehow, because he needed to fill that 300 slot somehow, and he couldn't just use all failed Blue Lock players previously. He just picked out some, and very specifically, he's just cracked. Like for no good reason. I think back to a time, and I think I've told the story before, but there's a time in track, I forget the guy's name, I'm not even sure what happened to him. Like, I never saw him in school, but there's this guy who just randomly came out to track practice one day, and he ran with us. He was the fastest. So fast that he had the fastest guys on the team, which notably was me and 3 other guys. So essentially, it was me at 4th, the crazy hurdler at 3rd, then just a long distance guy who was just dumb cracked fast, and he was actually short, which is hilarious, but he used to do long distance and he went short, and he was super duper quick, and then the most balanced long leg, just tall speedy guy who was also a crazy jumper. Me, I was always expecting the speed and throwing. I know, which is very, very weird. Like, why were you a sprinter and a thrower? I'm a big dude who likes to run. Shock horror. But with it being the case, he just came out and he was the fastest. We had no idea who he was, no idea where he came from, but he was cracked. And coach was like, you need to be here now. And of course, I was genuinely terrified. He was like, okay, I kind of have to surpass the 3rd guy now, or else I will not be on the 4x1 team. And then he just never showed up again. I think he showed up to like 3 practices. That's it. We never saw him again. I'm not sure if he like moved. I'm not sure where he came from. I never saw him in school. I never heard. I think, like, do I even remember his name? I have a name floating in my head, but I think I may be conflating that name with somebody else who just looked like that guy. I don't think that his name was actually the name I'm thinking of. So like, that is a case where sometimes that just happens. Like, there are just cracked people hiding, or people who just were never really shown before, and then bada bing bada boom, they pop out like that. That's why, as crazy as the Dragon Ball Super Broly stuff is, and how absurd his power growth is, not only is it because obviously you need to be the main villain of the narrative, but also that is kind of just true. Like, there's, for some reason, there is always randomly a bigger fish somewhere. There's always someone who's just faster, someone who's stronger, someone who's just, like, it just is like that. So if Kira ends up being a fake out, and there is just some crazy crack soccer player that even Ego's like, get on the pitch. I actually want to see, like a genuine, I'd actually be really, really down with that. Way more than I'd be down with Kira. Let's see. And the right to decide whether or not to use them lies with me, not Burutsuta. Oh, so then Borutsuta's selection is just another piece of Blue Lock? I guess. I mean, like, pretty much. Let's see. Right. It's an annoying and unexpected interruption, but think of it that way. And in any case, if we can't win the U20 World Cup, I'll be ousted from Blue Lock. Huh? For real? You know what? I like how they're genuinely concerned, but both Baro and Aiku are like, seems legit. Let's see. My position isn't that different from yours, and it doesn't change what I'll do. Let's produce the world's best striker, and wager everything to get a World Cup victory for Japanese soccer. Until this ego runs out, I won't hand you guys over to anyone. I'm about to draw on that a lot. Oh, I love Ego, though. I love Ego. He's so cool. Let's see. Now then, I'm going to announce the starting lineup for our first match against Nigeria. Sorry, I love Nigeria. Let's see. Oh, yeah, so it is going to take place in Blue Lock. Oh, okay, so the episode 90 chapter was definitely a flash forward to the group stage then. That was definitely a flash forward to the group stage and Nagi actually being on the pitch. Or at least, like, viable. That's what the last chapter episode Nagi was. Let's see. Yep, everyone's inside the Blue Lock facility. 2 hours until the U20 World Cup begins, and that's the end of the chapter, with Nagi coming back. Interesting. So I'm guessing the selection hasn't started yet, or Nagi didn't directly join it. At least not yet, because of him being here and not in the selection. But overall, a W chapter. Once again, just fantastic character work. I like the animosity and I like the tension building between the Blue Lockers. I like the different dynamics that we're seeing. I'll admit, Burasata is actually becoming a really entertaining character. Even if I obviously think he's like the bad guy of the story in a major way, I do like how his role above everybody else is actually being played with and being utilized, and like how Ego's planning to utilize it as well. Ultimately, this does feel like a story of many different moving parts that are all like simultaneously fighting yet working together to create this beautiful, chaotic narrative mess. And obviously, Nagi plays into that in the grand scheme. Sei's gonna play into that in the grand scheme. Kira and a possible like Broly-esque wildcard could play into that. So much is up in the air right now, and I'm so excited for us to finally get into it with only 2 hours left. So I hope you guys enjoyed the live reaction. If you made it all the way to in this video, please leave "You are mine." You are mine. Like just the 3 words, "You are mine," in the comment section down below. And thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that notifications will see them out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, you do have a Patreon below where you can support me for as low as $1. He thinks exclusive videos, early content, and more. Also, now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include the live reactions, the series I have to review, and variations of all my videos. And if you become a $12 patron or a $12 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, you have a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below. You can drop 5 beans for a short video, 29 beans for a long video, or any beans at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dak the Pencil, writing off. I would like to give a thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Redwolf 4765, Astro, Super Flame Zero, Glacier, XZ, Zera, Brendan Payne, J2MA, Guillaume, Buddha Uda, Alex Kenny, Yuki Ally, Enzo, Nevis 97, Zachary Wilson, Azo 2404, Planet Crone, Rye Rich, G Prosper, Swift Strike, Alexicon, Striker Man, and Autumn Mornings Lazo. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our line art patrons: Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin, Encarnacion, Dread Zoan, and A+A. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our Ink tier members: Austin Wimberly, Euchia, and Shrimpo the Shrimp. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our digital art tier members: J Warrior and AZ Void. And I'd like to give a thank you to our colored art tier patrons: Waki Munoz and Waki Munoz. And a final and thank you to our ultimate, that guy with a pencil tier patron, Calvin's wife. Not Calvin Elder, who ultimately does have one of my kidneys, but now I must know, and I must undergo the process of getting this second one removed, so I can send the other over to this wonderful family.